What's up, all you Incromancy fans? If you play D&D, you know. So, I have a very awesome video and a very awesome late video for you guys. The reason why it was so late, it was because, I've had a lot of things happen in my life, and I just didn't have the energy nor the storage space for my phone to, give you guys an awesome video. So, here I am, first out of the shower, because when I got my new computer, I was like, hey, why not? I have my topics. I have my, little discussion for the day, whatever. So I figured, hey, why not? So I apologize if my hair is wet, which it really is. It looks ridiculous, but I just got out of the shower. So here's the topic that I kind of want to discuss. So, if your computer is broken, kind of like mine, or whatever you use to type up your stories or poems, whatever, if it's broken, what can you do about it? Well, not writing's out of the question. You just can't not write. It's just not an option. So, I want to bring this one of these answers up in first, which is, and most of these answers will be pretty much obvious, just stating the obvious, but on the other hand, it's also the obvious that's what gets us more, if you know what I mean. So I guess one of the first answers that I want to put on here for what do I do when my computer breaks, technology breaks, technology sucks. We all know that. So, one of the answers is that, and I want to put this up here first, because I was watching a James Patterson interview on his site, and I'll go ahead and put the link down below for you guys. But in the interview, he actually states that he uses just a regular, normal, original pen and paper for his books. And when the interviewer starts pulling out all these all his desk, you can see the stack of papers. It's great. I love James Patterson. So if one of the greatest authors, yes, I will die on this hill. If one of the greatest authors, writes his book ideas using pen and paper, there's no reason why you can't. So yes, it's what's that what I'm looking for? Yes, it's tedious. Yes, you're gonna get hand cramps. I pen pal, so I'm not really a stranger to the whole pen and paper thing. Plus, when I was 10, I wrote a 30 book chapter all in paper because my mom grounded me. Anyways, so that's also what you can do, and don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to use, pen and paper. Whatever it takes to get your creativity working, your imagination working, just whatever it takes to keep that in practice. So, there's one option. And the second option kind of goes with the whole pen and paper thing. So, all those writing prompts that you see, or the finish the story, complete the line, whatever things that you see. You can actually use that to draw inspiration. Now, you can't actually use the sentence that they first used because, copyright's a thing. I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble here. But it can just be used for practice. Emphasize, you can always make it your own once you do have the time to recreate the whole thing. So that's kind of what I did. And that's kind of what, my advisor, one of the books that my advisor gave me, just kind of something like this. It says, just complete the story, just some things to get my imagination going. I don't really do short stories. I'll read them, but I can't write them because I just put a crap ton of detail in there. But for those of you that can, it could just be practice or drawing inspiration or whatnot. And that's kind of what I used. Now, my advisor was like, well, you can always just use the library like a normal person. Well, the library hates me right now. Because, I have 4 books. I'm on the library's most wanted list. Because I have 4 books that I haven't given back yet. But, a library's a good option, too. That way, you can still be writing, and everything that you write is, always backed up if you're using Google Drive or Microsoft or whatever your thing is. So, there's 2 options for that. Or, was that the third option? No, that was the third option. I can't count today. But no, so that's the third option for you guys. And, I guess another one is just for, I guess it's not really if you have any more other options, you can feel free to list them in the comments. Just list them for me. It's not, just to get a discussion going. I I also like using the complete the story and like complete the sentences, the writing prompts or whatever, just because like I want to see where my mind's at right now as far as what kind of book do I want to write. So for the ones that I used, I noticed everything that I'm writing was complete fantasy. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, I guess that makes sense because I've always wanted to, write a fantasy book and I could try my small hand at that and no one can read it. So, which is awesome. And then I guess that brings me to like another topic of discussion that I really wanted to bring up with you guys today is so for those of you that, are authors or for those of you that are, like me, are in the journey into becoming one, do you guys write multiple stories at once? Now, the reason why I ask this is because I've been kind of battling with myself, back and forth. Because, I mean, I'm still editing behind closed doors. Granted, I'm almost done with it, but I'm still editing the stupid thing. So I really needed a break from, behind closed doors before I just lose my mind and just throw the book, like, against the wall or something. So that's why I kind of came up with, Around the Arrow Goes, which, it is a fantasy series for those of you that are following. And I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. This is probably going to be one of my favorite books that I'm writing by far. Everything that I'm writing is like perfectly the way I want to design it. So, like the characters are perfect, the dialogue, the scenes, everything just coming out smoothly, and I am in love with it. So, I was kind of going back and forth between, okay, I'll edit one chapter, and then I'll write another chapter. I'll edit another chapter, and then I'll write another chapter. And that's kind of how I distinguish between the two. And then, what am I... My writing mind was just like, hey, I got an idea for you. Please no. No. I'm already writing 2 books, but you're gonna like it. I'm already writing 2 books. I don't have time for 3. But hear me out. I'm already writing 2 books. But granted, you want to write this one. Yeah, I guess so. So if you guys are following my Instagram, that's also kind of how I came up with my new story, Down Under. So that's 3 books that I was currently working on. And I don't know if you guys have a new book idea. Do you guys write all of your ideas down, your whole outline, and then put it away for next time? Or do you kind of want to do like what I do, or like what James Patterson does, because he writes multiple books at once, at least I'm pretty sure he does. Do you guys just like do chapter, and then a chapter, and then a chapter? Because, see, I'm not one for waiting. Like, if I already have a book idea, if I already have the outline, the characters, the plots, where I want to go with this, I want to have the ending of the book, I want to write it. I can't wait to get started on it, and then it's just constantly in my mind. So I just want to know, is it usually a good idea to wait, or is it just usually a good idea to just write it out? That way you're constantly working on something, and it's always a new thing every day. Because for me, like, when I have all my ideas out, I write it, in its entirety, and then I already have the story plot already in my mind and how the book is going to roll. Like, it's already, like, pictures crossing my mind. And then very recently, there's another book, and this is one that, like, I really want to get started on, but the outline's a little iffy. But I do know that it's called The Assignment. And so before I get into, the assignment, I want to get into, Down Under for those of you who are not following. So Down Under is a book about a guy who has amnesia due to a near fatal death accident he has because someone forced an illegal substance, hallucination, drug, dream type of thing into his throat. And it's a really high dosage. So the book starts out with him in a coma for about a year. And then when he wakes up, of course, he's going to try and figure out what is going on with my life, while also trying not to get arrested by the guy who figured out he was a criminal in the first place. Fingerprints are a thing. So he's trying to find all these things about his life, and then every little clue he finds, the detective guy who's watching him, he's just like, I should really arrest you for all this. So, that's kind of what Down Under is basically like. And I've already gotten about 10 chapters into that so far, so he's still in a coma. He hasn't quite woken up yet. They're kind of in the problematic between how do I wake up out of this, where are we kind of thing. So that's what I'm at with my new book, Down Under. Now, for the assignment, it's going to be a little tricky because it requires a bunch of, DNA research. So essentially what I have in mind for the assignment is that this student is going to recreate dragons. So kind of like Jurassic Park's idea of recreating dinosaurs, but it's not, obviously, it's not like that. So for my book, he's just going to create dragons for the hell of it. Not for a park, not for, sightseeing or whatever. No, he actually wants to create dragons. Because why not? Because he can. So he has like a bunch of experiments all lined up for that. And then he does create the dragon in the end. And then he creates another species called like a half dragon, the species that isn't a full blown dragon, but just like has the scales all down, has the scales as part of their skin, and has like maybe the dragon eyes. I'm not so sure on that because because his best friend does have to keep it away from his family. So, and his best friend will be one of the first half dragons that there is. So essentially, this kid's gonna create a whole species of like anything dragon related or fantasy related, whatever. But it's going to be in the modern time. So think about the world that we are in right now. And if you're in Colorado like me, I was looking up at the mountains and I was like, if dragons were an actual thing, I would love to see one just flying around those mountains. So that's essentially where I got the idea from. And then I have to work on the outline for that. I have it done mostly. It's a little iffy, but I think it'll work out. I think it'll work out amazingly. But back to my topic of discussion, that's 4 books. 4 books, because I have Behind the Closed Doors that I'm currently editing. I have Around the Arrow Goes, and then I have my Down Under, and then I have the assignment. So I just want to know what your guys' take on that is. Is it a good idea to write multiple books? Because that's where I'm at right now. I'm writing multiple books. But then there's an argument at the back of my head going, well, you're going to be delaying the release of your other books because you keep working on, the other half of your books. And I was like, yeah, that is a thing. So I just want to know, how do you guys do that? Because from what I've researched, a lot of authors write multiple books at once. But I'm trying to figure out, how do they do that? Like, do they just have a timeline for every book? And I'm also speaking to the real, I don't want to say real authors, not trying to say that. Like, to the published authors, are you writing multiple books at once right now? Or are you writing, like, short stories or whatever? And how do you keep up with all of them at once? Is essentially what I'm trying to ask. Do you do it like me? Do you just chapter? Or is it whatever inspiration draws you? Like, hey, I feel like, writing this book today, and then you write, like, almost 3/4 of that. Or are you just like, hey, I kind of want to write this book too, and then you just finish off that book? Like, how do you do it? Do you just wait for inspiration to drive you? Do you have a plan? So for me, I'm just doing chapter by chapter, but I guess that's the discussion. That's the second discussion point of today's video. Is basically just one, if your technology ever breaks, or if, for some reason your computer falls to an unknown coma, those would be essentially the options that you could do. You could also, just continue writing, your chapters using pen and paper, like maybe James Patterson does. Or do you just want to use like the short story one and then derive your inspiration from there? So that's kind of essentially, or do you just go to a library like a normal person? There are options out there if your computer breaks. It's not going to be the end of the world. But the one option is obvious. The one option that is not an option is obviously do not write. Because we're all authors here. We're all writers here. And if there's one thing that we have to have, it's our writing. So there's that. There's a little something for you in case your computer breaks. And like I said, most of these are probably already obvious for you guys. But if you're just like me and you're like, oh, well, my computer breaks, what am I going to do now? You still have options. Like for me, I just use the story, complete the story thing. And I just kind of used that to keep my inspiration in check. Plus, I kind of had one of my friends say, hey, give me a sentence. What are you talking about? Give me a sentence. Any random sentence. And then I could also, derive, a semi-storyline from there. So that's also what you guys could do. That and, what's your take on multiple chapters per book? So I thought it might be kind of informative for you guys. I know it's not as informative as my other books, but like I said, if you have ideas, or if for the published authors out there who are writing multiple chapters, just drop your discussion in the comments. We would love to hear it. We'd love to, take your advice or, create more discussion on it or whatnot. And, well, that's it. Just kind of want to, get a discussion going and everything. I really hate to be that person, but if you could follow me on Instagram, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm not exactly promoted, like I'm not exactly seen a lot. So like the 4 comments that I get are usually just promoters. So I have to like go back and like delete them. So, if you are following, or if you want to follow, just hit my Instagram link, which I'm always gonna post it. My Wattpad ink, which you will get updates every time I have a new story, every time I work on my first draft, you will constantly get updates on Wattpad. And of course, if you're following my new video page and you've been waiting forever for my video, hi, I'm still alive, I promise. I didn't go anywhere. So I guess that's it. So any, discussion ideas about any of those topics, you can just bring it back down in the comments and, we'll discuss it. So I hope you guys are having a good day. And I really hope whatever story or creativity thing you're working on, I hope you have a blast with it. Those are your babies. Don't let anyone tell you different. So I guess that's it. Happy writing.